Welcome back. It's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. And from McFarlane Toys, we are featuring Mortal Kombat Kitana in her Edenian blue outfit. Okay, so this is the modern rendition of Kitana as seen in, I believe, Mortal Kombat 11, the latest game. This action figure came out a couple of years ago, I believe in 2020, and we're going to take a look at it now. Mortal Kombat's one of those action figure lines that I actually do collect. I believe I have probably about 95% of all the McFarlane action figures. The only thing I'm kind of missing is a couple of variants here and there, but for the most part, I have one of each character. It's a line I'm very fond of. Big fan of Mortal Kombat, but for whatever reason, I just kind of neglect to review these action figures. But today we're going to take a look at Kitana. So let's get started. I love the I love the Mortal Kombat package design. The boxes are surprisingly a lot slimmer than like the DC Multiverse. These kind of fall more in line with some of like McFarlane's previous released action figures. Like for example, I think like Call of Duty and their Borderlands action figures were packaged in these smaller, slimmer boxes. I love how the window frames all of her accessories. She has her sai. She has her fan with all the blades out, and then she also has her fan with it folded in. As you can see in the background, there's a display stand. Nice action figure photography, a nice close-up of Kitana, the royal princess, and then another cool photo with her in an action pose, and this looks really awesome. We have 22 moving parts. Yeah, so I really dig the Mortal Kombat line. I kind of feel like they don't release as many figures as often as they should. For example, with like DC Multiverse, it seems like we get like probably like at the very least 8 new figures a month. Whereas with Mortal Kombat, I think if we're lucky if we get like 2 new figures every quarter. I think that sounds about right. But most of the time, it's usually repaints. I believe normally it's that earlier in the year when we get new figures, and then they kind of disperse it throughout. But the quality of these figures, they're just as high level as any of other McFarlane's toys. And that says a lot. These things are awesome. Alright, so my first impressions of Kitana while she's still in the tray. I like the color scheme a lot. She has a very nice shade of blue. There's certain areas though where the blue is kind of much more of a metallic finish. For example, the blue on her arms is a lot different than the blue on her pants and on her torso. This is much more of a metallic reflective finish, where the blue here is a little bit more matte. It seems like the hue is somewhat similar, so there's not that much disconnect. But it's kind of cool. I kind of dig it. It kind of brings your attention to like certain elements more so than others. She has her face mask on, and you can see there's her sai, her fan blade, and then here's her fan folded up. And let's take out some of these accessories, not all of them. And let me give me a second, I'll grab another action figure. Alright, sorry about that. I just wanted to grab another McFarlane figure just for size comparison. Alright, so I'm guessing Kitana is probably going to fall in really close to 7 inches or maybe even under. Actually, so not including not including the bun on the top of her head, she's about 7 inches. a little over 7 if you count that little tiny bun. So it's about the same scale as, you know, the McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. You know, here's the McFarlane designed, I think this is the gold label Batman, not the standard release. And as you can see right here, you know, she's a much shorter character, but I mean, I think that's to be expected. I think she's a kind of a shorter character to begin with. But in terms of the proportions and scale, I'd say they're about the same. So you can easily blend these figures in together, especially if you're like a big fan of the DC verse Mortal Kombat game from years ago. That was a pretty cool game. All right, let's set aside Batman for now. Let's take a look at Kitana. So Kitana looks fantastic. I'm having some problems here because I need the white balance on my camera is like kind of like, yeah, all right, that's a little bit better. Yeah, so I had an issue here. If I take this away, she becomes too bright, so I kind of need this to like balance it out so we can look at her facial features a little bit better. So the princess here is wearing her mask. The costumes evolved, you know, over the last, I don't know, 20 plus years since the character was first introduced in the early 90s. And like I pointed out earlier, there's a difference in some of the blue paint. For example, here, like on the arm, the headband, and on the face mask, it's a much more reflective metallic finish. You know, like above her chest as opposed to like her torso where it's a much more matted finish. And then there's a scratch on her boob right there. The sculpting is really well done. I like how all the folds and wrinkles are very subtle. You know, it looks very realistic. The attention to details is awesome also. For example, on her headband, you have all the individual folds in the, you have all the folds and creases. And then the hair is really well sculpted as well. Very clean look, especially in the bun. And there's kind of like a nail going through it. One thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is the eyes. I felt like they didn't need to outline the eyes as fully like this because it almost borderlines on looking a little bit too cartoony. I think they could have been a little bit more subtle with the eyeliner towards the bottom here. Love the attention to detail on the boots. The knee pads are great. There's kind of like this silver metallic trim, which is really fine on her knee. And then the motif kind of repeats itself here towards the lower leg and the ankle. As you can see, she's wearing high-heeled boots. But that should not be an issue since she has a display stand and then a socket there so she can use her display stand. Yeah, really, really well done figure. Let's examine her articulation. Her head rotates left and right. She looks down about that much, which is okay. It looks up, not too much. Arms could rotate, but they hit this shoulder pad right here. She does have that butterfly joint inside underneath. And then it's pretty well hidden because of her uniform. Double pinned elbows, as you can see right there. She does have that tennis ball wrist joint, but it's hidden by the guard, so it's a cleaner look. And that's articulated as well. Her ab crunch, it's a cleaner line where it's just cut straight across, and that's about mid-torso. About maybe like, you know, probably about a quarter of an inch below her bust line. And like a swivel, arch forward a little, arch back a little, and then she can rock left and right. She does have a waist swivel, I believe. I think it's underneath this overlap So here's her waist swivel. She kicks out about there. Kicks out to the side, not too much. So she cannot do the full splits, unfortunately. Double pinned knees. Articulated ankles. And then articulated toes. Now let's take a look. Let's take a look at her weapons real quick before I put them in her hand. All right, so here's her fan with the blades, with the blades in the fan in its open position. Now this is not functional. Although even though it kind of looks like you could fold it, you can't. It's just one solid piece. And then here's her sai. As you can see, the blade's kind of like twisted, almost like a screw. Nice detail on the handle. Yeah, she's a really cool looking figure. Now, I've kind of lost track of all the figures they've released, and I'm not sure if they released Melina yet, because Melina's a figure I really want, but I think to the best of my knowledge, I don't think they've released her yet. There is a repaint of Kitana, though. I think the repaint, the costume it's almost like, I want to say almost like a really dark blood red. I might be wrong on that, though. I've only seen photos of it online. I haven't seen it in person yet. When it comes to the Mortal Kombat figures, I'm not always big on getting the repaints because I really like getting the characters in their much more iconic color schemes. For example, some of the ninjas like Scorpion and Sub-Zero. One of the ninjas, they have almost like a purple color scheme, and when I think of purple, I often think of the Mortal Kombat character Rain. So it just seems kind of odd that their color schemes with the variants kind of deviates a little bit too far from, what they normally look like. But yeah, this is a great looking figure. Even if you're not into the Mortal Kombat game, I just think the fact that she's a ninja, is enough reason why you should purchase this action figure, especially since it's in scale with the DC multiverse stuff. You can easily just pretend, maybe she's like one of Talia's League of Assassin characters. Yeah, she's excellent. If I had to rate this figure on a scale of 1 to 10, my first impulse was going to say be a 10, just because I think visually she looks spot on, and it's a really nice looking action figure. But at the same time, some of the articulation could see a little bit more improvement. Like, it's unfortunate their legs aren't as articulated as I'd like. And then she can't fully look up or down. But, I think visually she's really spot on. This really is Kitana brought to life in action figure form. So it's really worth the purchase. The Mortal Kombat line is nice. Even though, like, a few minutes ago I was complaining that they don't release enough figures throughout the year, I think that's one of the stronger points in the line, is that it makes collecting this line very doable and also at the same time very affordable. The only time you're going to have to pay a little bit more is if you skip out on a release and wait, like 9 months later, especially if it's the first release of a figure. The repaints generally are a lot cheaper than the, the iconic colors, but these are definitely an action figure line that's worth collecting. Like I said, since the figures aren't released as often as like the DC multiverse stuff, buying like 2 or 3 of these figures every 4 months is very easy to do. Especially at the price point they're at. I believe these, at the time, I remember paying, I want to say at least, about at GameStop. GameStop always kind of jacks up their prices. But I think for the most part, when the line was first released, I think these figures generally retailed anywhere between $19 to like $22. There might have been a price increase. We're seeing that across the board with other action figure lines, but, it is what it is. But yeah, excellent figure. You know, the only alternative you have if you want to collect Mortal Kombat figures is like, you know, the much more expensive Storm collectible figures. Those are awesome, but they're really pricey. And I think it was, I want to say Mezco. They had a line of Mortal Kombat action figures years ago. Not to mention, you know, some of the other companies like Palisades and whatnot. But McFarlane right now, you know, they kind of have like the master license on these 7-inch scaled action figures for MK11. And the figures are just so, they're just so beautiful. Really well done, especially this one. Alright, so with that being said, let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.